Nobody told me this was a habit. I thought I was just weird. I would walk into a room and immediately notice who wasn't talking to who was smiling but tense underneath it, who wanted to leave but was staying anyway. I didn't try to do it, it just happened. And for years I thought something was off about me, until I started understanding how certain brains actually work and realized what felt like a problem was actually a pattern. A very specific pattern that shows up again and again in people whose minds are wired differently. So if you do any of these 10 things, this is not a character flaw. This is just how your brain operates. Habit 1. You talk to yourself. A lot. Not out loud necessarily, though sometimes that too. But there is a constant internal conversation running, narrating, analyzing, questioning. Most people have thoughts that pass through like weather. Your thoughts stop and demand a full discussion. Psychologists call this inner speech, and research shows it plays a direct role in working memory, problem solving, and self-regulation. You're not talking to yourself because something is wrong. You're talking to yourself because your brain needs to think out loud to process properly. Habit 2. You notice things nobody asked you to notice. The slight change in someone's tone. The word they chose instead of a simpler one. The thing that didn't quite fit in an otherwise normal situation. You weren't looking for it. Your brain just flagged it automatically. This is called hypervigilant pattern recognition. And in people with highly analytical minds, it runs in the background constantly. Like a background app that never fully closes. Useful, exhausting, both at the same time. Habit 3. You find it almost impossible to leave a question unanswered. Someone mentions something you don't fully understand, you research it at midnight. A conversation leaves something unresolved. Your brain keeps pulling at it for days. A problem with no clear solution, you cannot simply put it down. This is called need for cognitive closure. And while most people are comfortable with open loops, your brain treats them like unfinished tasks. It will not file them away until they are resolved, or until you consciously tell it, this one stays open. Habit 4. You find it hard to watch something without analyzing it. A movie becomes a study in character motivation. A conversation becomes a map of what was said versus what was meant. A news story becomes a question about what's actually happening underneath. You don't choose to do this. The analysis just starts. And turning it off feels like trying to stop noticing music once you've heard it. You can lower the volume, you cannot fully silence it. Habit 5. You catastrophize, but accurately. This is different from anxiety spiraling. You see a problem forming before it has fully formed. You map out the consequences of a decision 3 steps before anyone else has considered step 1. And when you try to explain what you're seeing, people tell you you're overthinking. Until it happens exactly the way you said it would. And nobody mentions that part. The problem with accurate catastrophizing is that it is lonely. Seeing what others cannot see yet means carrying it alone until they catch up. Habit 6. You need time to think before you speak. In fast conversations, you often go quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, because you refuse to say something until you're sure it's right. While others fill silence immediately, you are still checking the sentence before it leaves. This gets misread constantly. Quiet becomes confused with disinterest. Careful becomes confused with slow. But what is actually happening is precision. Your brain will not send something out until it has been checked. Habit 7. You feel restless doing only one thing at a time. Your brain moves faster than most single tasks require. So while your hands do one thing, your mind is already somewhere else. Already solving, already connecting, already asking what this reminds it of. This is not distraction. This is a brain running at a speed that routine tasks simply cannot match. The restlessness is not a problem. It is the gap between what your mind can do and what it is currently being asked to do. Habit 8. You find it hard to celebrate your own wins. You finish something, and instead of feeling satisfaction, Your brain immediately moves to what could have been better, what the next problem is, what you should have done differently. The bar moves the moment you reach it. Psychologists call this the arrival fallacy, the belief that the good feeling will come if you just get there. But for minds wired this way, there is always further, which means the feeling rarely fully arrives. And learning to pause there, to actually let the win land, is one of the hardest skills these brains have to learn. Habit 9. You have an unusual relationship with time. Sometimes hours disappear inside a single thought. Sometimes a 10-minute task feels endless because your brain is running 5 things simultaneously. You lose track of time when you're deep in something that genuinely interests you, and you're acutely aware of every second when you're doing something that doesn't. This is called variable time perception, and it is directly linked to how deeply a brain is processing at any given moment. The more absorbed the mind, the less it tracks time. The more disengaged, the more every second registers. Habit 10. You feel things more intensely than the situation seems to require. A piece of music hits somewhere unexpected. A conversation stays with you long after it ended. A small injustice you witnessed days ago still bothers you. This is not sensitivity as weakness. This is what happens when a brain processes at depth. Everything goes deeper. Everything leaves a mark. And while that can be exhausting, it also means you experience things others simply pass through. A sunset is not just a sunset. A conversation is not just an exchange of words. Everything has more texture, more weight, more meaning. These 10 habits are not flaws. They are not things to be fixed or managed or suppressed. They are what happens when a brain is built to go further than the surface, to ask more questions than most people think to ask, to feel more than most people allow themselves to feel, to notice what most people walk past without looking up. You have probably spent years wondering why your brain works the way it does, why it won't stop, why it notices everything, why it can't just let things go. This is why. Not because something went wrong, because something is working exactly as it was built to. If this felt like someone finally explained something you've always known about yourself, like this video and subscribe. Every week we explore the psychology behind the way you think, feel, and live. See you next time.